Hundreds of British Sikhs have been rallying outside the UK Foreign Office in support of this man, Jagtar Singh Johal. He was arrested more than a month ago in India's Punjab region and is suspected of having been tortured. Indian police have accused Johal of helping armed groups buy weapons to kill Hindu leaders. Despite the claims, no charges have been filed. And Johal has said through his lawyers that he's been hung by his limbs and given electric shocks. Well, to discuss this, I'm joined by Jagtar Singh in London. He's the principal advisor to the Sikh Federation in the UK. And from the Indian city of Chandigarh, Ritesh Laki. He's the senior editor of News 18 Punjab. Ritesh Laki, let me begin with you. Did the Punjab police have reasonable grounds for suspicion when they arrested Jagtar Singh Johal?
Yeah, certainly. As for the statement and as per the way the investigation has been heading, not only Punjab police, but apparently as of now, as the case and this investigation goes on, we have sufficient reason to believe that not only Jagtar Singh Johal, but there are other people who have already been implicated in one way or the other, the co-accused in this case. There is reasonable amount of suspicion. And since the matter has now been handed over to a federal investigating agency by the state police, the matter of this investigation is now with the NIA, that is the National Investigating Federal Agency, which is now taking over the probe of this entire matter, not only Jagtar Johal, but all the killings of the right-wing Hindu leaders that have been happening in the state for the last 1.5 years. There is a reasonable amount of suspicion. And the fact that the investigation has changed hands between two investigating agencies, it gives us sufficient ground to believe that they have sufficient evidence to link Johal.
Okay, so Jagtar Singh, the fact that they've bumped it up to India's equivalent of the FBI could suggest that there's something there. There might be something that they're looking at. Tell me why you're not convinced.
It could well be that there's something there. It could also be that the Punjab police have shown their incompetence because, you know, how can you hold a press conference 3 days after somebody's arrest and say you've cracked these murders when it was clear that Jagtar had been in Punjab for 7 weeks earlier this year, he'd been in Punjab for 5 weeks when he got married. And when ordinary people look at this case, there may be suspicion, but actually a month later, he's still not been charged and no evidence has been produced in court. Yeah,
okay, so Ritesh, given that they're saying, and this I'm getting from Hindustan Times, right, because there's a lot of speculation, there's no official charges, given that they're saying that he was possibly a key conspirator and also a fundraiser being used to send money to killers, and they see him as a sort of Khalistan separatist, right? These are serious charges.
Yeah.
Then why haven't they actually come up with official charges?
Well, Imran, let me put this fact clear that the case having been registered and now the investigation being handed over from one investigating agency to the other, keeping in mind the ramifications that the whole case and the probe related to these murders have had for multiple set of agencies across the country, and since the matter could have been its linkages internationally as well, so that's why the matter has been handed over to NIA. And as per the Indian law goes, in order to be able to raise a charge sheet, which is also called a challan, the Indian law permits the investigating agencies 90 days, that is 3 months. Within 90 days, you have to bring out a charge sheet. In this case, the matter being handed over, we have to wait for the 90 days mandatory period to be over before jumping the gun and telling that the investigating agency has not been able to press ahead with the right charges. Right now, the investigation is on. The registration of FIR means that the investigation is on, and they still have some time before a charge sheet, a formal challan is to be presented.
Yeah, you see, Ritesh, yeah, certainly. Ritesh, what his supporters are suggesting is that maybe they're buying time because they're torturing him at the moment to extract confessions. They're saying he's being tortured. Has there been any hint that that might be happening by the Punjab police, Ritesh?
See, Imran, any investigating agency, any police agency, whenever you are getting what you say, the investigation and your own information out of a person which you apparently perceive to be a criminal, then there have to be the ways in which the investigating agencies must be handling that person. Now, if there is a torture happening, as there have been claims for a lot of sides in the international diaspora, I must say that there is a legal recourse available in this country. There has been consular access. Apparently, there has been a dissatisfaction the way the councils or the embassy officials, the Scottish people, they have handled the case here. But I would say that every legal recourse is available with the people, and Jagtar Johal's, the legal team which is defending him in the court of law. And today also his remand has been extended by a day for a further investigation and probe. So the matter is that there are legal recourses available.
So let's ask
just
Mr.
allegations
Singh.
want to. There are
Okay, so Mr. Singh in London, if he is being tortured, guess what? He has legal recourse. Does that console you?
Not at all, because let's just look at the facts. When he was arrested on the 4th of November, the first time he got to meet his lawyer was 10 days later on the 14th. And at that occasion, he immediately said he had experienced third-degree torture. And straight away, his lawyer applied in the courts for an independent medical assessment. That was denied. And to this day, the British High Commission, the consular staff have not been given free and fettered access to a British citizen. And on top of that, let's go back to the 10th of November. On the 10th of November, his lawyers and the British High Commission staff sat outside the courtroom. And what happened was Jagtar was brought to the courtroom, his remand was extended for 4 days, and he was taken away. And only afterwards were his lawyers and the British consular staff told he'd been to court.
Right.
There is a suspicion that on the 10th, they didn't actually want to show Jagtar to his lawyers or consular staff, because what he claimed was torture in the first 3 days of his arrest.
Understood. Damitrajit, what would you like the UK government to do or to do more of, given the current situation?
I think what we've seen in a month is we have seen the Prime Minister of this country 2 weeks earlier express her concern. The next day, we heard a Foreign Office Minister stand up in Parliament and say that if Jagtar was being tortured, this is unconstitutional, and he promised extreme action. 2 weeks later, the British High Commission can still not get access to Jagtar. There is no sign of an independent medical assessment. The lawyers have applied in the High Court, and they've been given a date of March 2018. Any sensible person will know that what are the authorities trying to hide? If he's not being tortured, if he's been given regular medical checks, then why not agree to an independent medical assessment?
Right.
Why not allow him to freely meet his lawyers and consular staff?
Right. Okay, so Ritesh, do they have anything to hide?
Well, I'm sure, if they have anything to hide, they must be hiding it. That's one thing. But the fact of the matter is that investigation, the process of law, the administration of justice, and any trial or any proceeding leading up to a trial will automatically have to be followed through a course of law, which has been enshrined and set up as per the Criminal Procedure Code. And you have to go by it. That does not mean that a person who's under investigation and the person who is possibly a link to many of the people who might be on the trail through which the investigating agencies are going to get down to those hardened criminals and the militants, he cannot be given any kind of liberty just because of the fact that he happens to be a British or a Scottish citizen. Right. If there are certain reasonable charges, they need to be investigated. The law would take its own course, and that is what is precisely happening. And with due respect to all the sentiments of the people who must be thinking that the torture is happening, India is a country where the law, the right of the law is established, and we have the courts. The High Court, the Supreme Court, the legal recourses are available. If there is an iota of what the torture allegations are all about, then they need to be outrightly challenged. I'm sure that respective legal team of Jagtar Singh Johal is capable enough to take this matter up in the higher courts of law and get the right relief which they should be getting, rather than kind of lobbying for it, because the law has to take its own course and the judges would not listen to any of these sentimentalism. Right. based upon that is coming.
Certainly. I suspect you don't like the fact that they're trying to use the UK government to pressure the Punjab police over this particular situation because you feel it's interfering with the law. Let me ask Dabinderjit Singh very directly, sir, in London, what do you think is behind this? Are they targeting him because he's an activist, because he refers to the events in the 1980s as a Sikh genocide? Is that why they're targeting him, rather than because he's involved with a militant group that might be killing people?
I think what we've seen currently from the Punjab Chief Minister is, the Defence Minister of Canada was making an official trip to India. And what we heard the Punjab Chief Minister say was he was effectively a Khalistani terrorist and he wasn't welcome and actually boycotted him. He said the same thing to the leader of a political party, Jagtar Singh, in Canada. And therefore, it came as no surprise that 3 days after Jagtar's arrest, he himself chaired the police press conference. Now, how can you have a fair trial? We haven't even had charges. When it appears in the media, he's effectively been convicted. All the charges and all these accusations have come out in the media, but surely they should come out in a court of law. And therefore, if India and Punjab are concerned about the rule of law and the judiciary being allowed to do its job, all the British are asking is access to their citizens and in making sure that person's not being tortured. They're not actually interfering in the judicial process.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll have to watch this closely and to see what actually comes out of these investigations, especially since it's been bumped up to a kind of federal national level by Punjab police. We'll be following Jagtar Singh Johal's story very closely. Gentlemen, Dabinderjit Singh and Ritesh Laki, for the moment, I thank you both for joining us here on the Newsmakers.